and welcome back to Hidden Jewels with your sister Zahara. And the title of this video is Jews. We have been taught that when you go into the New Testament and you see that term Jews, it is a representation or an umbrella term for all 12 tribes of Israel. And that is a falsehood. And I think that because we don't understand who was under this umbrella of Jews, what a Jew is, I think that is why a lot of you who don't believe that the Gentiles are the house of Israel, that's why you can't see it. That's part of the reason, because you've been misled, like I've been misled, that when you see this term Jew, when you get to the New Testament, that houses all 12 tribes. But once you understand, this is the key to unlocking this mystery. Once you understand that this term Jew, what it means and who can be a Jew, then that'll help you understand this mystery of these Gentiles. Because once you understand who the Jews are, then you understand who the Gentiles are. Now we're going to get into the lesson. Get your Bible out, pen and paper, so you can take notes and follow along. But this term Jew was birthed after the split between the northern kingdom, the 10 tribes, and the house of Judah. After they split, that's when this term came into play. And you're going to see that as I go through this lesson. All right. So I don't want to waste any time. Let's let the word of God talk. Okay. So the first place I want to go is I want to go to Romans chapter 9 and verse 24. And we're going to read it. This is the book of Romans chapter 9 and verse 24. It says, even us, whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. So what we need to do, because a lot of people read this and they say, okay, not the Jews only, so that's all 12 tribes of Israel, but also of the Gentiles, who many of you only say are Europeans. You don't even include any other nations. But anyway, we know that's false, but we're going to look at it. It says, not of the Jews only. So in order for us to understand who these Jews are in the New Testament, we need to go back to the Old Testament so that we can see when this term came into fruition. All right. Now let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 2, and we'll read verses 8 through 11. Just want to put something on your mind. And we're just going to take a look at a little bit of history prior to the split between Ephraim and Judah. And what we're looking at is some history here after the death of King Saul. And I like to always call this a foreshadow of the split between the Ephraim and Judah. Verse 8. But Abner, the son of Ner, captain of Saul's host, took Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim, and made him king over Gilead, and over the Asherites, and over Jezreel, and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Israel. Verse 10. Ishbosheth, Saul's son, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Israel, and reigned 2 years. But The house of Judah followed David. And the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. So after Saul died, Abner set up Saul's son, which was Ishbosheth, and he set him over most of the tribes of Israel. Not over all the tribes of Israel, but most of them. Only the house of Judah followed David. So this here is a foreshadow of the split that's going to take place in David's grandson day, which was Rehoboam. And y'all stay tuned, because my brother Reggie Jr., he's actually going to really dig deep into this split of both houses. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 5, so a couple chapters over, and read verses 1 through 5. Before we read here in chapter 5, just to remind you, the house of Judah followed David, while Ishbosheth reigned over the rest of the tribes. Now watch this. Then came all the tribes of Israel to David. So those tribes that was being ruled over by Ishbosheth, those same tribes, all of them came to David in Hebron, and spake, saying, Behold, we are thy bone and thy flesh. Also in time past, when Saul was king over us, thou wast he that led us out and brought us in Israel. And the Lord said to thee, Thou shalt feed my people Israel, and thou shalt be a captain over Israel. So all the elders of Israel came to the king to Hebron. And King David made a league with them in Hebron. So he made a covenant before the Lord. And they anointed David king over Israel, meaning all Israel. So not just the house of Judah, but now all the house of Israel. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years. Verse 5. In Hebron he reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months over Judah, the house of Judah. And in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years over all Israel and Judah. So at one point, King David was just ruling over the house of Judah. And then as we read here, all the tribes of Israel end up coming and made a covenant with David. And then all the house of Israel, all 12 tribes, was ruled over by David up until his grandson's day, which is King Rehoboam. 2 Chronicles chapter 10, verses 16 through 17. And when all Israel, this is when the split happened officially under King Rehoboam. And when all Israel, meaning the 10 tribes, if you read this chapter, you'll see that. And when all Israel saw that the king would not hearken unto them, the people answered the king, meaning Rehoboam, saying, What portion have we in David? And we have none inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to your tents, O Israel. What Israel? The northern kingdom, Ephraim. And now, David, and David represents Judah, see to thine own house. So all Israel went to their tents. But as for the children of Israel that dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. And let's jump down to verse 19. And Israel which is Ephraim, the 10 tribes, so Zebulun, Naphtali, Dan, Asher, Gad, Reuben, all of those tribes, they rebelled against the house of David, meaning Judah, unto this day. And that's when they split. And we know Christ said that a house divided against itself should not stand. Now we'll read a chapter over and see who came to join Judah. 2 Chronicles chapter 11, verses 1 through 5. And when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he gathered of the house of Judah and Benjamin 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors. So we see Judah and Benjamin here, to fight against Israel. Again, Ephraim, Manasseh, Zebulun, Naphtali, Gad, Dan, Asher, Reuben, to fight against them, that he might bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam. But the word of the Lord came to Shemaiah, the man of God, saying, Speak unto Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, king of Judah, and to all Israel in Judah and Benjamin, saying, Thus saith the Lord, you shall not go up, nor fight against your brethren, nor fight against your brethren. Return every man to his house, for this thing is done of me. And they obeyed the words of the Lord, and returned from going against Jeroboam. And Jeroboam, he was the king over the 10 tribes of the northern kingdom of Israel. Verse 5. And Rehoboam dwelt in Jerusalem, and built cities for defense in Judah. Now let's jump down to, we'll read verses 12 through 14. And in every several city he put shields and spears, and made them exceeding strong, having Judah and Benjamin on his side. No other tribes, just Judah and Benjamin, but another tribe is going to join them. Verse 13. And the priests and the Levites that were in all Israel, so that were in northern kingdom's territory, resorted to him out of all their coast. For the Levites left their suburbs and their possession, and came to Judah and Jerusalem. For Jeroboam and his sons had cast them off from executing the priest's office unto the Lord. And he ordained him priest for the high places, for the devils, and for the calves which he had made. So we see Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. These 3 tribes were together. And these 3 tribes make up the Jews. So the term Jews is an umbrella term. And under that umbrella is the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Benjamin, and the tribe of Levi. Those are 3 tribes. Okay? And I want to say, when we see the term Jew, and when you understand that this term Jew just means the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Benjamin, and the tribe of Levi, then that should tell you something when you get to the New Testament, because it doesn't change from the old to the new. So that's when you should ask yourself, if the Jews are these 3 tribes here, that's it. Where are the other tribes? Who are the other tribes? What umbrella are the other tribes, the 10 tribes? What umbrella are they under? All right, let's go to 2 Kings chapter 16. 2 Kings chapter 16 verses 5 through 7. And keep in mind, this is the split. Both kingdoms they split into 2 kingdoms. Israel is split into 2 kingdoms. They're no longer one nation anymore like they were under David and Solomon. They're 2 kingdoms now. They're 2 nations. 2 Kings 16 verses 5 through 6. We're looking at this term Jews. Then Rezin, king of Syria, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, of the northern kingdom, came up to Jerusalem to war. And they besieged Ahaz, but could not overcome him. And Ahaz was king of Judah at that time. So you see the split? You see how we have the king of Israel teaming up with the king of Syria to go against their own brothers of the house of Judah. And so I don't see how some of y'all don't understand that. Look at this. If you look at the history, you'll see the civil wars that they're having. So you get confused when you get to the New Testament and you say, well, I don't understand. How could the Jews not deal with the Samaritans? How could the Jews or Peter and them not want to deal with Cornelius or want to deal with the Gentiles? Well, because you're looking at it here. After they split, there was a civil war. It was back and forth fighting. That history didn't change when you got to the New Testament. And they didn't deal with each other. They were a house divided. Verse 6. At that time, Rezin, king of Syria, recovered Elath to Syria and drave the Jews. Who were the Jews again? Benjamin, Levi, and Judah. Drave the Jews from Elath, and the Syrians came to Elath and dwelt there unto this day. So Ahaz, Ahaz again is the king of Judah, sent messengers to Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, saying, I am thy servant and thy son. Come up and save me out of the hand of the king of Assyria, and out of the hand of the king of Israel. Which again, this Israel here is the 10 tribes. It's the northern kingdom, Ephraim, not the Jews, which rise up against me. So here we see in verse 6, the first time we see where the word Jews is being used. So it's nothing new. It's not some new term that just appears in the New Testament. That's why the Bible tells us that precept must be upon precept. Line upon line, here a little, there a little. It's not an option, it's a command. If we want to unlock the mysteries of God's word. And you have to be humble. Because if you're not humble, then you can't receive any new wine. You can't receive any new understanding. You have to stop being so hostile when somebody is bringing forth something new from the Lord just because it does not agree with your doctrine or your teaching. 2 Chronicles chapter 32 and verse 1. After these things, now this is, at this time, what we're looking at before I read it, what we're looking at is, this is after the northern kingdom, the 10 tribes, they were taken away by the king of Assyria into captivity. Not all of them, but majority of them were taken out of the land. And all that was left was the Jews, were the Jews. But the other house, they had been scattered at by this time. It reads, after these things and the establishment thereof, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, came and entered into Judah, and encamped against the fenced cities, and thought to win them for himself. We'll jump down to verse 9. After this did Sennacherib, king of Assyria, send his servants to Jerusalem. But he himself laid siege against Lachish, and all his power with him, unto Hezekiah, king of Judah, and unto all Judah that were at Jerusalem, saying. Let's jump down to verse 17 through 18. He wrote also letters to rail on the Lord God of Israel, and to speak against him, saying, As the God of the nations of the other lands have not delivered their people out of mine hand, so shall not the God of Hezekiah deliver his people out of mine hand. Then they cried with a loud voice in the Jews' speech. Remember, the other tribes are gone at this time. The northern kingdom has been taken into captivity. And all we've been seeing here is Judah, Jerusalem, Judah, Jerusalem. And what did it say in verse 18? Then they cried with a loud voice in the Jews' speech. Again, who are the Jews? We read it earlier. Levi, Benjamin, and Judah. Not all 12 tribes that were on the wall to affright them and to trouble them, that they might take the city. So there we see the term Jews being used again. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 34, verses 8 through 9. 8 through 9. Just want to put some on y'all mind. This is the word that came unto Jeremiah from the Lord. After that the king Zedekiah had made a covenant with all the people which were at Jerusalem, to proclaim liberty unto them, that every man should let his manservant and every man his maidservant, being a Hebrew and a Hebrewess, go free, that none should serve himself of them, to wit, watch this, of a Jew, of a Jew. One more time. Of a Jew, his brother. Again, who were the Jews? Levi, Benjamin, and Judah. No other tribes could be called Jews but those three. That's it. It's an umbrella term for those three tribes. And I also want to say, that's why when you read in Isaiah chapter 49 and it says something to the effect of, let me go to it, because a lot of people, they don't understand this either. I believe it's Isaiah 46. No, it's here, Isaiah 49 and 6. When it says, and he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserved of Israel. That preserved of Israel that you're looking at are these Jews, because the Lord kept the Jews, but he divorced Ephraim. He gave her a bill of divorcement. And when a man divorces a woman, he takes his name back. And in Ephraim's case, it was Israel. So he took it from her, and she became her maiden name, not a people. And what were we before we were a people, which is Israel? We were nations, heathen, Gentiles, because all Gentile mean is nations. That's it. It's not a nationality. But anyway, but that's what you're looking at. So when you start reading through the scriptures from the old to the new, and you start seeing Jews, Judah a lot more, because you'll notice that the house of Israel doesn't get as mentioned as much. What you're looking at is the Lord has preserved the Jews. He hadn't cast them off yet and got rid of them. He preserved them. And he did that so that Christ could come and fulfill what was written of him having to come. And so when you get to the New Testament and you're seeing those termed Jews, don't lose the thought. You need to stick a stake down in the Old Testament, the term Jews, and then take a rope tied around, and then everywhere you go in this Bible, all the way through the New Testament, you keep the thought that the Jews, always remind yourself that the Jews is not all 12 tribes. We're reading it here. But anyway, Jeremiah chapter 40, verses 11 through 12. And it reads, "Likewise, when all the Jews that were in Moab, and among the Ammonites, and in Edom, and that all the country," so these were Jews. Now again, the Jews is Benjamin, Levi, and Judah, the preserved of Israel. They were scattered in these countries after Nebuchadnezzar had besieged and took down Judah and Jerusalem and carried away the Jews captive. Right? That's how we know that the Jews could not be all 12 tribes, because Ephraim and the northern kingdom, they were already scattered and going into captivity. All that was left was the preserved of Israel, which are the Jews. "And that were in all the countries heard that the king of Babylon had left a remnant of Judah," see, "and that he had set over them Gedaliah the son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, even all the Jews." Kind of like in Acts 2, right? So even when you read in Acts 2, they were still scattered. Most of those Jews, and you see in Acts 2 where they was returning. But the Jews, no mention of the northern kingdom. "Even all the Jews returned out of all places whither they were driven, and came to the land of Judah, the preserved of Israel, to Gedaliah, unto Mizpah, and gathered wine and summer fruits very much." Let's go to Daniel chapter 1. Daniel chapter 1. And sit down and do your own study. Look at these things. Look these words up. Do the precepting. You got to put in the work to find these things out. Daniel chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. "In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels unto the treasure house of his God. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and the king's seed, and of the princes." Now we'll jump down to verse 6. "Now among these were of the children of Judah Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah." Let's go to Daniel chapter 5 and verse 13. "Then was Daniel brought in before the king, and the king spake and said unto Daniel, Art thou that Daniel, which art of the children of the captivity of Judah, whom the king my father brought out of Juri?" And just to challenge any of you who don't believe, show me anywhere in this Bible where you see one of the tribes outside of Levi, Benjamin, and Judah. Show me Naphtali, Zebulun, Dan, Asher, Reuben, Gad. Show me where they're called Jews in this Bible. Put it down in the comments because I would love to see it. Let's go to Daniel chapter 3 and we'll to verse 8 and we'll read verse 12. Just to show you that Jews is just an umbrella term for the house of Judah. That's it. Judah, Levi, Benjamin. Wherefore at that time certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. The Jews. Not all 12 tribes of Israel. The Jews. Verse 12. There are certain Jews, whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. So there we see the term Jews again. Esther chapter 2, verses 5 and verse 10. Verses 5 and verse 10. See, for us here at Israel's church, it's about getting understanding. We are not here for debate. We're not here for strife. We're not just trying to show how much we know. This is all about, it's all about getting understanding with us. That's it. And whatever we find out, we share it with y'all, because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to trade talents. And this is the Jews in captivity in Persia. Esther chapter 2 and verse 5. Now in Shushan the palace, there was a certain Jew, whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a what? A Benjamite. So Mordecai was of the tribe of Benjamin, under the umbrella of Jew. Like Paul. Remember Paul said, I'm of the tribe of Benjamin, a Jew. What you won't see, if you go and look into the New Testament, you won't see where someone says, I'm of the tribe of Reuben, a Jew. Even Anna the prophetess. It didn't say Anna the prophetess of the tribe of Asher, a Jew. Notice it didn't say that. Now some of you all say that Jews means all 12 tribes, and yet she wasn't a Jew. Because Jew only belongs to 3 tribes, and we read them earlier in 2 Chronicles in 11. Benjamin, Levi, and Judah. They're the only ones can be Jews. So he was a Benjamite who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. Now we'll jump down to verse 10. Look at our foremother. Esther, or Hadassah, had not shewed her people, nor her kindred. And who is that? She was a Jew. The Jews. For Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it. And if I'm not mistaken, Mordecai was Hadassah's cousin, which means she also is of the tribe of Benjamin, a Jew. Not Naphtali, not Gad, not Zebulun, Issachar, Dan. You won't see it. All right. Now let's go over to Esther chapter 3, verses 4 through 6. Now it came to pass when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand. For he had told them that he was a Jew, which is just an umbrella term. I have to keep repeating it because some Israelites can't hear. They're deaf. Under the term, he was under the umbrella of Jew. And what did he tell you he was? He was of the tribe of Benjamin. Verse 5. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath, and he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone. For they had shewed him the people of Mordecai, Who is his people? The Jews of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews, not all 12 tribes of Israel, all the Jews. There's a difference. That were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. Nehemiah chapter 1, verses 1 through 2. The words of Nehemiah, the son of Hakaliah. And it came to pass in the month Chislew, in the 20th year, as I was in Shushan the palace, that Hanani, one of my brethren, came, he and certain men of Judah. And I asked them concerning the Jews, not all 12 tribes, just the Jews. The Jews that had escaped, which were left of the captivity, and concerning Jerusalem. So you should be asking yourself, where are the other tribes? Because we just keep hearing about the preserved of Israel, which are the Jews. Ezra chapter 4. And let's read verses 1, 6, and 11 through 12. Now when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin, heard that the children of the captivity builded the temple unto the Lord God of Israel. Let's jump down to verse 6. And in the reign of Ahasuerus, in the beginning of his reign, wrote they unto him an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. Verses 11 and 12. This is the copy of the letter that they sent unto him, even unto Artaxerxes the king, thy servants the men on this side the river, and at such a time. Be it known unto the king that the Jews, that the Jews which came up from thee to us are come unto Jerusalem, building the rebellious and the bad city, and have set up the walls thereof, and joined the foundation. So, once again, Jews. And who did we see back in verse 1? When the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin, just like we read in 2 Chronicles 11. And we know the Levites were there as well. Let's look at it. Nehemiah chapter 11. See, once you understand who those Jews are, when you get to the New Testament, it's a piece of cake. And then you'll understand, oh, well then where does that leave the other tribes? What umbrella are they under? Because they can't be called Jews. Nehemiah 11, 1 through 3. And the rulers of the people dwelt at Jerusalem. The rest of the people also cast lots to bring 1 of 10 to dwell in Jerusalem, the holy city, and 9 parts to dwell in other cities. And the people blessed all the men that willingly offered themselves to dwell at Jerusalem. Now these are the chief of the province that dwelt in Jerusalem. But in the cities of Judah dwelt everyone in his possession in their cities, to wit, Israel, the priests and the Levites and the Nethinims, and the children of Solomon's servants. Verse 20. And the residue of Israel, the remnant, but what Israel? Of the priests and the Levites were in all the cities of Judah, every one in his inheritance. Now we'll jump down to verse 36. And of the Levites were divisions in Judah, and in Benjamin. So once you understand who these Jews are, when you get to the New Testament, it's a piece of cake. You then realize, okay, because nothing changes. When Jesus comes on the scene and the apostle, that term Jew didn't change. It didn't change to mean all of Israel all of a sudden. No, it stayed the same. And it represents what we just read, Levi, Benjamin, and Judah. So once you understand that, then you can turn back to Romans chapter 9. Once you have understanding and you know that the Jews were the preserved of Israel, of the tribes of Jacob, that Christ had to raise up first. And then turn around and be a light to the Gentile. Who are the Gentiles? Well, now that you know who the Jews are, it should be easy. It should be simple. Let's look at it. All right, peace and welcome back to Hidden Jewels with you. Jews. That's why he said, even us, whom he have called, not of the Jews only, Levi, Benjamin, and the tribe of Judah. Just those three. So you should ask yourself, where are the other tribes? What banner are they under? Well, Paul is going to tell you by quoting Hoshea. Not of the Jews only, let me say it again, not of the Jews only, the tribe of Levi, the tribe of Benjamin, and the tribe of Judah. Not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. Did the Lord forget about the northern kingdom? Did he forget about the house of Israel? Well, that's why we want to keep reading, darling. Because he'll tell us who these Gentiles are. It's a mystery. As he saith also in Hosea. Now, we're going to have to go to Hosea to see if it mentioned all these nations or the Europeans. But we'll look at it. As he saith also in Oz, which is Hosea, I will call them my people, which were not my people. Who was not his people? The house of Israel, because they got cut off. He divorced his wife, and she took her maiden name back. She became not a people. And her beloved, which was not beloved. This, my friends, this verse 25 is the key to telling you who these Gentiles are. Now that you know who the Jews are. And all you have to do is do something called precepting. All you have to do is go over to Hosea. I know some of y'all are kicking, but how many of your teachers have showed you this? They're just telling you, they're just giving you a doctrine. They're not actually giving you answers from the Bible. Let's go to Hosea 1 where Paul quoted this. It says, I will call them my people, which were not my people. Well, who is that? Hosea chapter 1, and we will read verse 6, because Paul also said, and her beloved, which was not beloved. And she conceived again and bare a daughter. And God said unto him, call her name Laruhamah, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel. The house of Israel. And we saw that when we read that earlier in this lesson. But I will utterly take them away. I'm going to take them away. If you read verse 7, it says, but I will have mercy upon the house of Judah. These are the Jews. These are the Jews. But the house of Israel, that's Ephraim, Manasseh, Zebulun, Naphtali, Gad. Those are those tribes. But in verse 7, the house of Judah, he said, I have mercy on them. Those are the preserved of Israel, the Jews. And will save them by the bow, the Lord their God, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horses, nor by horsemen. And he did, because that same king of Assyria that took out most of the house of Israel, he didn't allow them to take out Judah. But let's keep looking at it. Verse 9. Then said God, Call his name Loami. See, this is a big deal. Most of your teachers read it like it's not a big. No, this is a big deal. Because the Lord is doing something here. For you are not my people. He says, you are not my people. Loami, you are not my people. And I will not be your God. So what you're looking at here is the house of Israel is being taken from the commonwealth of Israel. They're being cut off, divorced, cast away back among the nations, and called Gentiles, called nations again. The Lord don't want nothing to do with her. But the Jews, he said, I'll stick with the Jews. But Ephraim, I'm going to cut them off. They ain't my people. They ain't my people. They ain't no longer Israel. I ain't going to call them Israel no more. So now we understand when we read in the New Testament and we're seeing the term Jews, guys. Jews is just an umbrella term for that houses the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Levi, and the tribe of Benjamin. So now that we got those three tribes, you should ask yourself, what umbrella are the other tribes now under? They're not a people. Think about it. Not my people. Not my people. That's all I want to share with you guys today. I hope I put some on your mind. And with that said, I will say, Shalom.